Whenever someone suggests that a structure or civilization could be older than the last ice age, it almost always sparks intense debate, controversy, and sometimes even the removal of the research itself. And that's exactly what happened at Gunung Padang. Geologist Dr. Danny Natavijaja claimed that this hill in Indonesia wasn't just a natural mountain. According to his interpretation, there could be hidden chambers and buried structures beneath it, with some layers potentially dating back 25,000 to 27,000 years. Mainstream archaeologists strongly rejected these conclusions, arguing that the anomalies could be explained by natural volcanic formations. But if it's just volcanic formations, then instead of just calling it pseudo archaeology, why was the research retracted and the excavations halted? Well, there are many reasons behind it. But if Danny is right, what could be hidden inside those chambers? Could they contain traces of a civilization that existed before the end of the last ice age? The only thing that is often cited as evidence for a hidden chamber is the water disappearance incident. While drilling into the hill, the research team started pumping water into the borehole. At first, the water began disappearing underground, which isn't unusual during drilling. Water often seeps into the surrounding soil and rock, but as the operation continued, the amount of water being lost kept increasing. And by the end of the drilling, nearly 32,000 liters of water had disappeared into the hill. That's roughly the amount of water in a small backyard pool. So, what exactly was absorbing all that water? Was it a hidden chamber, a large underground void, or simply natural volcanic cavities beneath the mountain? The answer remains a mystery. And since excavations at Gunung Padang were eventually halted, there is very little information available about what might actually exist beneath the structure. So, to find more clues, I decided to look somewhere else at the local stories that existed long before modern researchers arrived. According to Sundanese traditions, no one knows exactly how old Gunung Padang is. In fact, some of the old texts and traditions describe it as far older than anyone could remember. The mountain was considered so sacred that the entire region became known as Parayangan, meaning the land of the Yangs. According to Sundanese beliefs, the Yangs were sacred beings associated with wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual power. Many traditions describe Gunung Padang as one of the places connected to these beings. Some stories say the mountain was a place where people could connect with the Yangs and receive wisdom or guidance. Others describe it as a sacred gateway between the human world and a higher realm. And the most interesting thing is, some traditions suggest that the Yangs were not ordinary humans at all, but divine beings that existed beyond the human world. What if the chamber wasn't a place of knowledge, but a chamber to communicate with the Yangs or beings of a different realm? We don't know. But if these are just myths, then why did generations of people preserve these stories about this mountain for so long? Now, to be clear, we don't have any physical evidence that a lost advanced civilization existed at Gunung Padang. And that's where many theories run into problems. Because if a civilization really existed before the end of the last ice age, where is the evidence? But what if we are making an assumption? What if we assume that an advanced civilization must leave behind the same things that our civilization leaves behind? Massive cities, complex infrastructure, advanced engineering, and technological achievements. What if they were pursuing something entirely different? Something that many researchers don't think about, which is consciousness. Now, I know consciousness sounds far less exciting than ancient aliens or lost technology. But consciousness may actually be the bigger mystery. Today, after decades of experiments and research, science can produce rockets and nuclear weapons. But it still doesn't fully understand consciousness. Take the placebo effect, for example. In study after study, patients given inactive treatments have shown real physiological changes simply because they believed they were receiving medicine. The opposite effect, known as the nocebo effect, has also been observed, where negative expectations can produce real negative symptoms in the body. In other words, belief itself appears capable of influencing biology. So, were these advanced ancient people using mind and consciousness to treat disease and severe injuries? Maybe, maybe not. If an ancient civilization really existed before the end of the last ice age, we naturally expect to find evidence of technology, machines, tools, and factories. But what if their greatest achievements were never physical to begin with? What if the thing they spent thousands of years exploring wasn't the outside world, but the human consciousness itself? If that sounds unlikely, it's worth remembering that some of humanity's oldest surviving structures are not industrial sites or centers of technology. They are sacred sites. And maybe that's why when archaeologists uncover the remains of ancient civilizations across the world, the structures they find are temples, ceremonial centers, sacred mountains, and ritual sites. From Göbekli Tepe in Turkey to the pyramids of Egypt, from the temples of India to the sacred mountains of Southeast Asia. Some of humanity's oldest structures seem to be connected to religion, spirituality, and humanity's search for something beyond ordinary life. Interestingly, there are a few other findings at Gunung Padang that make the mystery even stranger. Some of the volcanic stone columns found at the site can produce ringing tones when struck, similar to what researchers call lithophones. Researchers have also reported unusual geophysical anomalies around parts of the site. And they do raise an interesting possibility. Today, scientists know that sound can influence human emotions, attention, and even brain activity. Certain rhythmic sounds and frequencies are being studied for their ability to help induce relaxed and meditative states. So, if there really are chambers hidden beneath Gunung Padang, what would happen to sound, vibration, and resonance inside those enclosed spaces? Could the lithophone like stones, combined with the geophysical anomalies, have helped in exploration of consciousness? Interestingly, the local traditions surrounding Gunung Padang don't focus on technology or engineering. Instead, they focus on enlightenment. So, were the Hyangs unique to Sundani's traditions, or were they similar to the mysterious seven sages found in ancient traditions across the world? Beings who were said to possess extraordinary knowledge and wisdom. Now, before dismissing all of this as mythology and spirituality, it's worth looking at what modern science has discovered about consciousness. For most of modern history, scientists viewed consciousness as something more than a byproduct of brain activity. But the more researchers study it, the stranger it seems to become. During the AWARE studies, some cardiac arrest patients later reported details of conversations and events that occurred while doctors were attempting to revive them. Scientists still debate how these experiences happen. What exactly happens to consciousness when the brain shuts down? There's also studies on Tibetan monks. Researchers studying advanced meditation practitioners found that some were able to significantly increase their body temperature while sitting in freezing conditions. Practitioners were able to dry cold, wet sheets wrapped around their bodies using nothing but breathing techniques and meditation. While mainstream neuroscience generally views consciousness as something generated by the brain, some researchers and philosophers have proposed a very different possibility. What if consciousness is not created by the brain? What if the brain is simply interacting with something more fundamental? And perhaps that's why consciousness remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in science. So, what if ancient people were exploring different possibilities that we haven't discovered yet? And this makes me wonder, what if we're searching for the wrong evidence? The truth remains hidden. But after years of controversy, the Indonesian government has resumed excavations at Gunung Padang. So maybe in the coming years, we'll finally learn what's really beneath this mountain. Until then, let me know what you think. Do you think there really is a hidden chamber beneath Gunung Padang? And if there is, was it connected to consciousness or some form of lost knowledge? Or is the entire mystery being misunderstood? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you and take care.